target them, but it's hard to have faith behind a locked closet door. The only barricade between my classmates and an AR-15. When will we stop letting children be used as target practice?
The shooter knows his target has been reached when the soft flesh of a student has been penetrated and their pencil falls to the ground, the utensil for the math test they'll never take.
Education, they say, is our tool to success, but how is that so when fear is as abundant as my papers that are scattered with grades that don't matter? If all our tomorrows are placed in jeopardy,
books used to be the most powerful weapon we could possibly possess.
But if a student holds a Kill a Mockingbird in one hand and a semi-automatic weapon in the other, guess which one will be ripped from their grasp?
School safety now means handing teachers guns, but God forbid we hand them a decent paycheck in return. How am I supposed to learn if the hand over my heart isn't to whisper, "I pledge allegiance"?
Our bodies are not chambers to store bullets,
And they never should be!
The Sunshine State lost 17 rays of light to hate by the bullets that punctured the horizon.
Silence and profits have become a comfort for some and holds America's tongue. But our voices are louder than the shots that were fired!
This is for Alyssa
And Scott
and Martin
and Nicholas
and Aaron
and Jamie
and Chris
and Luke
and Kara
and Gina
and Joaquin
and Elena
and Meadow
and Helena
and Alex
and Carmen.
and Peter. This is for the youth whose fate has been carved on their tombstone.
This is for me!
The teen that's been subjugated to social media and selfies, but whose mind was never put at ease by the adults who have failed us. This is my life. These are our lives. And we may not be bulletproof, but this movement is.
Hold it as close as you can to your mouth, please. Just one. One is fine.
Okay.
Okay, next up we have a public school teacher from Irwin High School. Take McQueen.
I brought 3 generations with me today. Hello Asheville, Buncombe County, it is awesome to see all of you here. There is no way a little bad weather would stop a great cause. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking this message with you when you leave here. I wish we could bottle Lindsay's first speech and pass that out. And I wish we could take the energy that the 2 who just left the stage have given us. And I wish we could tattoo the honor and dignity that our guests from Parkland provided us today. You know, we often hear how freedom is not free. Let me ask you, is the price of freedom 13 killed at Columbine High School? No! Is the price of freedom 26 killed at Sandy Hook Elementary School? No! Is the price of freedom 17 killed at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School? No! And is the price of freedom killed this week? 2 at Great Mills High School. So then the price of freedom can't be the 19 school shootings in just the first 3 months of 2018. There have been more than 290 school shootings since Sandy Hook in December of 2012. So is the price of freedom arming teachers? Students and teachers are under attack, and the time for action is long overdue. The price of freedom must not be tallied in casualties and collateral damages. My name is Tate McQueen, and I'm a career educator and coach for nearly 20 years. During that time, in every school I have taught, starting in Washington, D.C., I have witnessed the vicious toll that gun violence takes. At Central High School, we had a shooting on campus. Can you imagine what it's like to teach or learn in a lockdown atmosphere, where every day we must contemplate the ultimate worst-case scenario? Learning has become secondary to safety. Here in Western North Carolina, whether it was at East Henderson High School, Owen High School, or Irwin High School, we lost either current students or alumni to gun violence. Jake Kine, Jake Stewart, Tatiana Dees, Alexandra King, and Kyrie Logan all have been killed as a result of gun violence. Local lives and families forever shattered. This is not someone else's problem. This is our problem, and it is our responsibility. Those who interpret the Second Amendment to the extreme have co-opted it and have forgotten that the Constitution calls on the government to provide for the security and welfare of the people. And it is we, the people, who elect those entrusted to provide that safety and security. As a nation, we are inspired by the righteously authentic leadership of our youth to march for our lives. We must continue this march. We must continue this march by marching to the polls and vote. And vote like our lives depend on it. The quality of our lives, the safety for our students depends on it. To those who covet their assault weapons, the weapons of war, more than the tenets of their faith, in the esteemed words of Emma Gonzalez, we call BS. To those elected officials who lack the conviction to vote for effective gun safety laws, we call BS. To those who would use brutality against us, we call BS. And to those who would disenfranchise us, we call BS. To the student leaders from Parkland, Florida, Asheville High School, North Buncombe High School, Irwin, Inca, A.C. Reynolds, T.C. Robertson, and all the other schools, we support you. We salute you, and we will follow you. Our students will no longer be silenced, and our teachers will not be silenced. The will of the people will not be suppressed. We have an unmitigated disaster in the White House. We have an unmitigated disaster in the Senate. We have an unmitigated disaster in the House of Representatives. So what will we do when it comes to the politicians who are in the way, holding office for personal gain without regard for this national epidemic of catastrophic gun violence? We will vote them out. What will we do? We will vote them out. Vote them out. Vote them out. Vote them out.
Vote them out. Vote them out. Vote them out. Vote them out. Vote them out.
The real price of freedom is participation. Now, vote like your life depends on it, because it does. Be kind to one another. If you see something, say something, and take 5 people to the polls. Thank you, and as always, as Dr. Barber implores us, forward together, not one step back.
is Kit Gruelle. She is a community educator and advocator at Helpmate.
Right on the mic, okay. I'm taking off my glasses. My name is Kit Gruelle, and I'm here to talk about the link between domestic and family abuse and gun violence. I work at Helpmate, Buncombe County's program that serves victims and survivors of domestic abuse. We are committed to trying to address and intervene in the root cause of much of the violence that spills into our streets and into our schools. Violence and abuse that occurs in our homes behind closed doors. I want to start with a story, one that challenges the NRA's ridiculous notion that guns are the answer to everything. On July 2nd, 2002, Alan Gates shot and killed his 24-year-old daughter Valerie, her friend Corday Lee, and Corday's 2-year-old son Kendall. Alan Gates had been served with a domestic violence protective order 3 weeks earlier. He'd been beating and terrorizing his family for decades, but the criminal justice system did not take his offenses seriously. He never spent even a single night in jail, despite being charged numerous times for beating his wife and kids. Gates' estranged wife obtained the protective order, and he was told to stay away from the marital residence, but he was determined to return and exact the most extreme revenge against her he possibly could. He went back to the house and broke in, waiting for Janet to come home. Instead, Valerie, Corday, and Kendall stopped by the house on their way to take Kendall to a movie. Gates was armed with his .357. He pulled his gun on them and ordered them into the back bedroom, where he executed them one by one, including little just from her father. Janet was afraid that her estranged husband was at their home. 2 deputies escorted Janet into the home. They found Alan Gates asleep with his gun by his side. As deputies were arresting him for violating the restraining order, Janet walked into the back bedroom and found Valerie, Corday, and Kendall. Gates was tried for triple murder and sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. At his sentencing, he blamed Janet for his crime, saying, quote, "I don't understand how one little woman could drive a man to do such a thing." Kendall would be 18 now, graduating from high school this year. Every day across the United States of America, at least 3 women, and often their children too, are shot and killed by husbands or boyfriends, or, more commonly, like the Maryland shooting this week that took the life of 16-year-old Jalen Miller, ex-boyfriends or ex-husbands. Abusers lose control of their partners, and then they pick up a gun and hunt them down like prey. The NRA tells us that everyone just needs to carry a gun. What kind of gun, I wonder, would they have wanted 2-year-old Kendall to carry? What firing range could he have gone to so that he could have learned to aim and fire? Does the NRA blame Kendall for being murdered? So what are the numbers? Here's something to think about. Between 2000 and 2006, 3,200 American soldiers were killed in Iraq and Afghanistan by enemy fire. During that same period, domestic violence homicide claimed the lives of 10,600 people in the United States. The majority of them women and children. If the abuser has a gun, the victims are 5 times more likely to be murdered. This is the war on women we're talking about. The link between domestic abusers and mass murder is painfully clear. I could list many, many mass shooting incidents involving domestic abusers whose partners had recently left, but the list would be too long, so I'll just mention 2. In Plano, Texas, in September of 2017, Meredith Height had invited a group of friends over to watch a football game. According to Spencer Height, Meredith's estranged husband arrived at the residence and opened fire. Meredith and 7 of her friends were murdered in cold blood. Height's estranged husband was shot and killed by police. Another notorious Texas mass shooting took place at the First Baptist Church of Sutherland Springs. Devin Kelly was in a dispute with his mother-in-law. His estranged wife's grandmother was among the victims of the church. He had an extensive history of abusing women and animals, and fixated on recent mass shootings. The warning signs were there, but the dots were either ignored or not connected, and as a result, 26 people lost their lives and another 20 were wounded. Nicholas Cruz, like other mass shooters mentioned here, thanks so much for allowing me to participate.
Next, we have a high school senior speaking. Please welcome Emily Hogan.
Hold the mic right up to your face, right to your mouth.
7 children and teenagers die every day from gun violence in the U.S. 50 women are shot and killed each month by their intimate partners in the U.S. Not one more. 96 people die every day from gun violence in the U.S. Not one more! 17. We know that number by heart. And we are saying, not one more! These numbers represent many things, but ultimately, they represent needless death of opportunities, death of hopes, and death of dreams. Gun violence is a hot button issue right now, but it is a reality that faces Americans every day, especially our minority and underrepresented communities. Black men are 13% more likely to be shot and killed than white people. Of the LGBT people killed by gun violence between 2012 and 2015, half of them were shot to death. Children of color are 3 times more likely to be shot and killed than white children. Enough! We are tired of living in a country where we know our representatives care more about money from the NRA than our lives. We are here to change that. Vote them out! 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 We are here to rage against the fact that lives will be lost if Congress does not act. We are here to rage against the lost lives of children when Congress only gives thought and only gives prayers. But let me make something very clear. The young people's fight against gun violence is not new. We have been fighting for this for years. We have been marching and calling and writing and trying to get our congressmen to listen, but that didn't work. It didn't work when 13 died in Columbine. It didn't work when 33 died in Virginia Tech. It didn't work when 26 died in Sandy Hook, and it didn't work when 17 died in Parkland. But will you listen the next time it happens, Congress? Do you hear me, Richard Burr? Because the $7 million that you took from the NRA shows your priorities, even if you're not running for re-election.
hear me, Tom Tillis? Because the $4.5 million that you took from the NRA will not be enough when we come for your seat. Do you hear me, Patrick McHenry? Because the $43,000 that you took from the NRA will not be enough come November. How can we ensure that what happened in Parkland does not happen again? How can we ensure that what continues to happen every day in Chicago, every day in Detroit, every day across this country stops happening? We marched, we cried, we mourned, and we spoke of change. But how can we ensure that our activism reaches past the span of this microphone? We marched for our lives, but now we need to write for our lives and call for our lives and move and fight and change and vote for our lives. Congress has shown us their priorities. So we are done asking for gun reform, Burr, Tillis, and McHenry. We are done pleading for you to put our lives over money. Instead, we are going to plan, we are going to organize, we are going to take your seats, and then one day, we are going to run for office because I dream of running for office, not running from school shooters! We have a job to do. Now, let's get to work. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I don't have anything planned to say, but that's the end of our speakers, and this is Jean, the local leader of Moms Demand Action here in Asheville. And I'm Liz. We've been helping the students get this amazing event organized. We want to thank you all for coming and standing out here in the cold today. And we want to recognize the 10 students who worked so hard to put this on, so I'd like to ask them to come up on stage. We've got Ariel, Jessica, who you heard earlier had to go home, Emily, Elizabeth, Molly, Grace, Bryn, Audrey, and Hannah. I don't know about you guys, but I am so inspired and impressed by these young women. And I know that they're all going to do great things. Their entire generation is going to do great things. So you lead us and we will follow you. Thank you so much for all your hard work.
Not have happened without their help as well. We do have an after party at the block off Biltmore if you guys want to come together so we can talk about how we can enforce this change. We really want you to know that what happens at the event of this march, what is really important is that we keep advocating for the end of gun violence. Call your senators, call your Congress people, write to them. We have postcards right over there where you can do just that. Keep sparking change and keep sparking conversation because that's how we will make change. Thank you for being here today. We are so grateful.